I've never experienced such terror in my life. It was as if Mother Nature was screaming at us. You can't change the weather. You can't make the storm go away. You just have to deal with it and sit in it and pray that you come out on the other side.
7 years ago this week, Hurricane Michael, a Category 5 monster, made landfall and changed Meghan Lynn's life forever.
There's a period of time before the storm, and then there's your life after. And I can tell you, going into a Category 5 storm, you never walk away the same.
Today, we're going off the radar to meet a content creator who's reaching millions, sharing life-saving information in a way that's relatable, entertaining, and surprisingly funny.
You tend to hold on to something. If you giggle about it, you tend to remember it. That's why I share it the way that I do. Like, it's all factual, but it's just delivered in a way that it resonates with people.
I'm meteorologist Emily Gracie, and you're listening to Off the Radar, a production of the National Weather Desk. On the show, we dig deep into topics about weather, climate, the ocean, space, and much more. Our goal is to help you better understand the weather and to love it as much as we do. Welcome to Off the Radar. I'm your host, Emily Gracie. This week marks 7 years since Hurricane Michael made landfall as a Category 5 hurricane, devastating communities along Florida's panhandle. While emergency officials have the expertise to communicate hurricane threats, there's been a persistent challenge: actually getting people to pay attention and prepare. Meghan Lynn lived through Michael's fury about 60 miles west of Tallahassee. She lost her home, but in the aftermath, she discovered something powerful, a way to use her experience as a survivor and her skills as a content creator to reach people in an impactful way, a way that makes them take action.
This is near about the most comprehensive hurricane prep video that you're going to find on the internet. Happy hurricane season, or whatever.
Her hurricane prep reels are funny, relatable, and wildly popular.
Let's get started. Do not go outside in the ice. Though it is a very cool phenomenon, it is not something that you want to play around with. 1 minute you were standing...
They bring levity to a terrifying topic without diminishing its seriousness. And most importantly, people actually watch them, remember them, and act on them.
Okay. Do not forget to fill your prescriptions before the hurricane hits. I mean, you ain't pulling up to your local CVS or Walgreens asking for your Ozempic shot when the storm comes. Okay, you got to get that done pre-hurricane.
Today we're exploring how humor can be a tool for survival, how trauma can fuel purpose, and why sometimes the best messenger isn't the one with the most credentials, it's the one who knows how to connect. Meghan Lynn, I'm so excited to have you on the podcast today to talk about hurricane preparedness. Yeah. You are amazing. I was just taking a deep dive into your social media, and I mean, now all I want to do is like cook and buy makeup.
Thank you so much.
But there's also so many great tips about hurricane preparedness in there that unless you live it, you just don't know. Like, even us in the weather community, that we just don't know this because we've never really lived through what you have, which is a Category 5 hurricane.
Oh, yeah.
So let's talk about that. Is it okay? Can we dip into the trauma first?
Let's dip right into the trauma. No problem. I'm an open book. I love this. Growing up, hurricane season is another way of life. You know how out in the West you have earthquakes. You know, some people deal with tsunamis, some people deal with tornadoes. We deal with hurricanes. And so a lot of people, it intimidates them because it's a massive storm. And sometimes it takes a long time for it to get, inland. They're intimidated by just the magnitude of what a hurricane is. So I grew up dealing with hurricanes. I've always, I've been a born and raised Floridian, been here 34 years, 6th generation Floridian, actually. So we've been here, we've been planted here. I can say everything that I've experienced is nothing compared to a Cat 5 hurricane. Nothing. There is nothing that compares. So about 24 hours before, I used to leave the house every morning at 5 a.m. I'd do a workout and I'd be back home at 6. Well, during that workout, one of the instructors said, "Hey, just letting y'all know, we're not coming in tomorrow because there's a hurricane coming. Like, y'all need to prepare." And we knew the hurricane was coming. It had been circulating out there for, golly, it felt like weeks. I felt like it was just slow motion. Like, we knew it was out there. We just did not know what was coming, really. And so, because it intensified so quickly. So I said, okay, well, maybe things are actually getting serious. I stay prepared. I always go pick up a case of water. I'll go pick up non-perishables. Like I stay prepped and ready because when you grow up here, you just stay prepped. Like that's all there is to it. From June to November, you're prepared. You're locked and loaded and ready to go. We live in a very small town, like a very small town. 7:00, our grocery store opens and I pull up to our grocery store at 6:45 and there's a line out the door. And I thought, in this 10 red light town, like what in the world? There's a line out of the door. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to wait in the line. I'll just wait in my car and wait and see what happens. And so 7:00, they open the doors and I see people start running into our grocery store. And I'm like, what's everybody doing? Like, why is everybody losing their minds? Like, what in the world? So I get out of my vehicle and I walk up to the grocery store and I walk in and everybody's snatching things, bottles of water, non-perishables, bread and milk, which are the most perishable items that one can grab in a storm, but whatever. So they're grabbing all the things off the shelves. And I'm like, well, what do I need? I don't really need anything. I guess I can get something to cook for dinner tonight. So I go, and I'm almost embarrassed to say this, but I get steaks and ingredients for a chocolate cake. And I go home and I'm talking to my husband and I'm like, what do we need to do? And he said, we're prepared. We have everything that we need. We don't need any more food. We don't need any more water. We don't need any more batteries. We've got everything we need. And that's why I wasn't freaking out in the store with everybody else because I was prepared. I was ready. We live in the middle of a small town, but we also have a farm that's about 20 miles east of our home that was in town. So my husband said, we're going to stay. We're not going to evacuate, but I do want us to go out to the farm because that's, again, where all of our resources are. Not only do we have the non-perishables and all of the bottles of water, but we also have fresh springs out there. We've got all the equipment one could ever want in terms of hurricane cleanup and helping our neighbors and clearing debris. Like we have everything we need at the farm. So I said, well, I don't want to do that. I want to stay in my home and we can drive out there tomorrow and assess the damage, but I don't want to drive out to the farm and stay there. I want to stay in the comfort of my home. And he said, Megan, this thing is about to be a Category 5 hurricane. And I'm telling you, I think we need to go out to the farm. And so as we're eating dinner that night, the steaks and the chocolate cake that I had gotten at the store that day, I looked at him across the table and I said, well, you know what? If it's our last meal in this house, at least it's a good one. And I'll be dadgummed if it was not the last meal we had in that house for a calendar year. So we go out to the farm. We stayed at my in-laws' house and they were amazing. And we went to bed that night. The next morning we woke up and we saw the bands coming in. And there's nothing like the feeling of just being completely out of control. You feel so small when you see this massive storm coming towards you and you feel the wind. We took a time lapse actually in my husband's old bedroom when he was a kid. We attached a camera and took a time lapse. And you just see, it's like a 6-minute time lapse, but in that 6 minutes, it was over the course of several hours. And you just see the absolute destruction. I mean, we thought it was going to stop when it got to the coastline. We thought, okay, it'll break up a little bit and it'll dissipate. And by the time it gets to us, it'll be a 3-4. And it hit our county 60 miles inland as a 5. So that was, incredible destruction. And I can tell you, like in those moments, looking out, because you hear just the craziest noises, like just the wind blowing through the windows, blowing through the cracks in the door. Like it was as if Mother Nature was screaming at us. Like that's what it felt like. It was the most intense noise. And, I'm trying to keep 2 toddlers completely calm. And, they're not freaking out yet because mom's not freaking out. But on the inside, I'm like, what have we done? Like we're staying in the middle of it and there's nowhere we can go. We can't leave. It's way too late to leave. I've never experienced such terror in my life. And it was over something that you can't change the weather. You can't do anything. You can't make the storm go away. You just have to deal with it and sit in it and pray that you come out on the other side. Because we were prepared, because we had everything we needed, because we had all the resources, I wasn't panicking because I knew that we were going to be okay. But just sitting in the magnitude of that Cat 5 storm while it's blowing around you, that was terrifying.
After the storm, when did you go back and realize what had happened at home?
After the storm blew through, we still had cell phone service. So after, the outer bands kind of left, we were all making calls to make sure that everybody was okay, because we thought, okay, we have no power, there's nothing here, but we still have cell phone service, so while we still have a battery, let's make calls and make sure that everybody is okay. You check in on your people. So I was making calls, and there's really nothing like, when I go back in my head to making phone calls to my mom and my dad and my grandparents, like when that phone would ring, you would have such anxiety until you would hear a voice on the other end of the line, and then you could breathe. You would hold your breath until you heard the hello, and then you could breathe. And so we called all of our people, made sure everybody was okay. And then about 3 hours after the storm was done, all of our cell towers were running on the generators. Well, when the generators ran out of gas, all the cell phone towers went down. So there was no power. The destruction had happened. We had cell phones for a couple of hours, and then there was nothing. And it was just quiet. There was nothing. So I did not know that our home had been destroyed in town until a couple days later. We had some cell service that popped back up. They were able to get gas to the generators and fix the cell towers. And so my cousin, who was a police officer, called, and he said, "Hey, I just want to let you know there is a tree on your home, like in the middle of your home." He said, "Oh, Megan," he said, "there is water everywhere." And I was like, "Well, let me tell you where the towels are." And he said, "No, I don't think you understand. Like, you're going to need a lot more than towels, honey. Like, this is bad. You need to get here." So what happened with our home is that we had a huge oak tree in the front yard, and the root system was exposed more to the street. And we always had the thought, well, if it falls, it'll just kind of go towards the street. Well, that wind shear and those gusts were so strong that it blew it in the opposite direction, and it landed on the top of our house. It busted all the master plumbing in the top story. And so when it did that, it took all the master plumbing down and busted all of that. And the city came back later and turned the water on because everybody was trying to get water. So when the city turned the water back on, it flooded in our house. And so about 48 hours later, we were able to get over on I-10 and get into the house. And when I walked in the back door, our ceiling was on the floor. So that taught me a really, really valuable lesson that if you are going to evacuate your house, turn off your water main at the street.
Yeah. And I want to dip into some of these great tips you have as well for especially evacuating versus not evacuating. But I want to talk about how this came to be, how you started doing this online. I know TikTok wasn't really a big thing maybe back then, but how did you get to this point where I'm gonna start sharing hurricane preparedness information on this platform?
Yeah. So between 2020 and 2024, Florida was the fastest growing state in the nation. And I knew that with that would come a lot of residents that had never experienced a hurricane before. They're moving here from Miami and Disney World, but we actually have, we are a lightning capital of the nation. We are hurricane central. There's a lot to Florida. You know what I'm saying? And so I knew that the education was there, but it may not have been delivered in a way that was palatable maybe, or that would resonate with audiences. And so I thought, well, I have a voice. I can put some tips together. I've endured a Category 5 hurricane. Not that many people can say that they've done that. And so I just started writing a list, and I thought, well, either it will hit or it won't. Either they'll love it or they'll hate it. I'll just post it because it's content, and it's important content. It's unifying content. It's something that everybody can get behind. And so I posted it, and it took off on all platforms, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. And I thought, well, people want this. And I thought, well, you know what? I think they want this because it's almost a form of control. Like, you feel like if you're prepared for things, you almost have like a semblance of control over it. And I know that the more prepared you are, the less panicked that you will be.
And I love your tips too, because I've heard the same ones over and over again, right? Like, we always hear about NOAA weather radios and having your water and having your medications, but some of yours are really fun and really innovative too. Okay, so a couple that stood out to me. The one that you did talking about the washing machine, and how wash all of your clothes,
wash all of them,
and then all of them, and then put on clean underwear, right?
Yes, please. Always clean underwear. Always lead with that. If you have nothing else, please have clean underwear. Yes.
And then what do you do with your washing machine after you're done with it?
So what you can do, because it drains like a washer should, you dump ice in it and you turn it into a cooler. So you don't have to worry about draining your ice. You've got ice right there. You've got all your drinks. You're ready for your hurricane party. You can just dump the ice in. It will drain like it's supposed to. But in the meantime, you can use it as a cooler and free up some space in your freezer or your fridge that you wouldn't otherwise have.
And the other thing that was interesting, another great appliance use, dishwasher use. You have some really cool ideas for the dishwasher during a storm.
We need to clarify, if you are below sea level, that may not work. Or if you're in an area where there's a ton of storm surge, that may not be such a hot idea. But if you're far enough inland and you're above sea level, it absolutely will make a great makeshift, like not a safe, obviously, but a safe place to store some documents. It'll keep them dry.
Okay, some other lessons learned. One of them, if you're evacuating the quarter in the ice trick.
So you fill up a cup with ice, and before you leave your home, if you're going to evacuate, you need to put a coin on top and you put it in your freezer. That way, when you get home, if any has melted and you see the coin has dipped below the very top, you know that the items in your freezer have probably gone bad because it has melted. There's no confusion there.
One thing I'm always curious about too is snacks. You know, you say like non-perishable snacks. What are some good things that like last a while, fill you up? Like if you're going days and days without the ability to cook, what are some good things to buy that are going to last you through those days?
Always protein. Lead with protein. Protein first. It will keep you the fullest, the longest. Always protein bars, any kind of quick dry mix for shakes or anything like that. We normally, like if we have meat in our freezer or in our fridge, we will grill it all and we will try to keep it, you know, as good as we can, like in a cooler, just to make sure it's
in the washing machine.
No, the washing machine. Absolutely. So I always, again, just lead with protein first. As far as non-perishables, I always make the joke. I never understood the bread and milk thing. Like, I don't know why toilet paper, bread, and milk are always the first things to go. And that is the most perishable thing that you could potentially buy. And I don't know if we're making milk sandwiches, we're making them French toast. Like, what are we doing here? So it's always so funny to me that goes in first. And I'm like, neither of those things are non-perishable. They're very perishable, actually, extremely perishable.
And the other term I loved in one of your videos, you talked about taking an everything bath right before the storm hit. What is an everything bath?
Girl, you know what an everything bath is. Honey, it is more than just a couple spot treatments. You know, we want the whole thing, head to toe. You want to make sure that you are.
I know, we have a lot of male listeners. They need this described.
Everything bath, head to toe. You shampoo, you condition, hair mask if you need to. You shave all the areas. You need to be slick as a seal when you come out of that shower. It needs to be an everything bath because everybody around you will thank you. Because you really, with that Cat 5 storm, we didn't know the next time that we were going to get a shower, let alone a hot shower. Most of our showers were cold after the storm. So yes, you just need to make sure that everything is as clean as it can be before you go into any kind of life-threatening storm.
All right. And then you're done with your everything bath. Yeah. What do you do with the bathtub after that?
So what you do with the bathtub, you can fill it up with water because if you do like with your toilet system, you're going to have a scoop of water to be able to flush those toilets. So I would not recommend drinking that water, but I use it to flush toilets with or anything like that.
Okay. So before you have probably like this life of before Michael, after Michael.
Oh, yes.
What did you learn during the process that really stuck with you?
I learned how much relationships and communication matters. You learn very quickly that material things don't. And, when you're in the midst of a storm and everything's falling down around you, you're not thinking about any material, anything that you have. You're not thinking about your Snow Village collection or your china or anything, your shoes, anything. You're concerned about your relationships. You're concerned about your family. You're concerned about the things that money cannot buy. So going into the storm, you hear that. But after the storm, it really resonated with me that material things are never where you should find your joy. Like, it's okay to enjoy material things, but don't let them be the source of your joy. And that's really what I learned more than anything else is how much connections and relationships matter. Because after that storm, when there was no way to communicate and cell phones were down, it's you and your neighbors, and you're helping each other survive. You're helping each other navigate through a very different life than you had just 24 hours prior. So relationships and connections matter so much more after you have dealt with something like that. And it's almost like we've got this common bond, like everybody that stayed in that storm and everybody that experienced it, we all had this unspoken connection with each other. Like, we feel so seen, like we understand what it's like to really look death in the face and survive.
When you started putting these videos on Instagram and on TikTok and Instagram, What was the feedback like?
There have been a lot of people that have reached out and it's just, they've said, thank you. Like, thank you, not just for sharing facts, but sharing it in a digestible way. It's entertaining because like when I share these facts, they're all fact-based. Like you can check them, but I share them in a way that it's almost laced with some humor and some sarcasm because I realize like when we're laughing, we're not worried, right? Like you're just in the moment, you're laughing, the fear is taken out of it. And so that's what I wanted to lead with is like laughter and just, you tend to hold on to something. If you giggle about it, you tend to remember it. And so, yeah, that's why I share it the way that I do. Like it's all factual, but it's just delivered in a way that it resonates with people, maybe they'll remember it because they've giggled at it,
It resonates with people. And then also you have the respect because they're factual of the weather community as well. So meteorologists, I've seen meteorologists share your posts because you're taking it that extra mile that a lot of times the scientists can't. We have the information, we want to share it. We're not always great at sharing it. So this is like that last mile of getting that information out. So have you had feedback from like the weather community?
Yeah, there have been some incredible meteorologists that I stay in touch with and they're like, hey, thanks for doing this. Like, you don't have to do this because if you didn't know this, I'm not a meteorologist at all. Like I'm just a multidimensional entertainer and I just wanted to save people and save them some headache and some panic and, get behind something that we can all be unified with. Like we're all unified and we want everybody to survive these massive storms, And so, yeah, that's really just my motivation. And I've got some great relationships with some really incredible meteorologists and I put things through them and say, hey, can you fact check this? Can you tell me what I should add to this? And they give me feedback and it's great. It really is a very synergistic relationship. I'm really grateful for the connections that we've made.
That's awesome. Do they ever get information back from you? Because I can see like your skill as a communicator. We could learn from it, right? So like, is there anything that you can offer back to the meteorologists that we might be doing wrong?
I mean, honestly, no. I mean, I have such a great respect for the entire meteorological community because it's really difficult to try to warn people and you repeat yourself. And I know that there's the accusation that's thrown around of, oh, well, they're just fear mongering. They just want the ratings. They just want the hits. Well, the reality is if you do not stress the importance of how impactful these storms are going to be, if you don't share the danger, then do you really care? Like we need these people out here to take these storms seriously and prepare like they should. So I know that there's a bad rap of, oh, they just want ratings, but in reality, no, they want safety. They want to make sure that you're on your P's and Q's and you're prepped and ready.
Do you have any advice for like best practices for TikTok? I can tell you're very good at like editing them and putting them together and just the graphics. Is there any advice you can offer there as far as what's worked and what hasn't?
Oh gosh. Honestly, just love people. Like that's it. Just make them feel seen. Like everybody just wants to feel seen. Everybody wants hope. Everybody's searching for truth. Like we all have that in common, no matter where you are in life. We all want hope and we want truth. And that's what I lead with. Like, I want to do something that's unifying. I want to do something that's meaningful. I want to do something that everybody can stand behind. I don't ever want to be divisive. Like, unity is like my mission. Like, I want people unified. And so in terms of TikTok, I just make sure that I'm engaging with people. I'm always in my comment section. I'm normally responding to like every comment. So when people are like, oh, stay out of the comments, don't read the comments, I'm like, no, that's where my relationships are formed. Like, what do you mean? Like, I love talking to people.
Well, it's working. How many followers do you have?
Thank you. The last time I checked, I don't really keep up with followers, which is crazy because people are like, you should know your follower count. But I'm like, I just love people and post, guys. The last time I checked across all 3 social media platforms was like 1.2 million. And so it's quite a bit. It's a chunk. Chunk of followers, just being this small town girl who there may be 20,000 within our city limits. Like, I never thought that I'd be talking to millions of people across the globe. Really, it's really a cool life to live. It's been an adventure.
Do you feel like by documenting these tips and connecting with people on social media, this is kind of your way of healing from what you went through 7 years ago?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is my way of, I experienced this for a reason. We all go through different things for a specific reason. It's up to us to figure out what that reason is. Sometimes you don't know, you just stumble upon it. And in sharing these tips, I do. I hope that I'm able to I don't know, create awareness and seriousness of the situation. And maybe somebody will take something away and it will be life-changing and life-saving for them. And so, yeah, it's like all the things I wish I knew before the storm, because it is. There's a period of time before the storm, and then there's your life after. And I can tell you, going into a Category 5 storm, you never walk away the same. And I can tell you there have been a lot of misfortunes because of the storm, but there have also been a lot of blessings. If you look for them, you'll find them. And there were some things that happened after the storm that ended up being a blessing, and we just didn't know it. You know, some storms come to destroy, and some storms come to clear your path. And so, in a way, it was able to clear paths.
Meghan, thank you so much for sharing your story today. Is there anything else you want to share?
I mean, honestly, thank you for doing what you do. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for having me. It was an honor to be here. And I appreciate you. Stay safe this hurricane season. We're almost done.
Same
We're
to
getting
you.
close. We're almost done.
I know. There's always a good surprise late season, though, I feel
I'm
like.
a little concerned about, Karen being on the list of names. Hurricane Karen does not sound like a good name. It doesn't sound like anything I want to be a part of,
She's going to ask for the manager at the very least.
Right. She's going to ask for a refund of the entire weather system. That's what's going to happen.
Off the Radar is a production of the National Weather Desk. Make sure you're following the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. New episodes publish every Tuesday. Thank you to Meghan Lynn for joining me today. If you don't already, make sure you follow Meghan on all social media, especially TikTok. Just search Meghan Lynn Content. That's Meghan with a GH. And while you're there, give me a follow too. Emily Gracie on TikTok and Off the Radar on Instagram. Thanks to the National Weather Desk and Sinclair Broadcast Group for their ongoing support of the podcast. And as always, to my associate producer, Brian Petras. I'm meteorologist Emily Gracie. Make it a great day.